caffeine had a significant positive effect on how far you can run aerobically, how strong you can be, how long your muscles can keep working, how explosive you can be, how high you can jump, how quickly you can get your exercise done, and like how effective your short-term high-intensity exercises are. Right? That's great. It had
Yeah,
a
I mean, it
positive
sounds like
effect.
a no-brainer for
A
any healthy
no-brainer
adult.
whatsoever. Yep. Except for the fact.
Yeah, straight A student, but I'm friends with the cool kids. Following the rules and the rubric. Freestyle on the bus.
So there was a 2-lap swim. So you're going out for a whole lap and then doing the exact same thing the second time. The mental on that first lap was so bad because I'm just thinking about the fact that there's 138 miles left. And that's a tough thing to think about. But I feel like once I got back in the water, like everything switched and started swimming better. If I could swim in a straight line, I think I would be like a pro. Like, it's actually ridiculous. I would end up swimming off course because I don't swim in the ocean at all. I'm used to my Haverford YMCA pool. And so like you swim off course and you have to get up, reset, and then keep going. But honestly, body felt great. Jumped onto the bike. First 30 miles were all straight into the wind. So I'm pushing what I think is like a good pace, good speed. It is not. I'm just getting killed by this wind. But we made it work. And then once the wind switched, I started to really be able to like kind of go. And then all that's left to do is run a marathon, which the furthest I had ran before was 19 miles. So that was the furthest I'd ever ran. And I got to 2 miles left and I was like, all right, like at this point, there's no reason to save anything. So I ended up dropping my time. Like I'm looking at my splits here now and like my last 2 miles were 8:30s. So
Nice.
I think,
You're flying.
yeah, I mean, I think I could have pushed a little harder, but I mean,
with the celebration I saw at the end, absolutely, you could have pushed a little harder.
I felt
left some
great.
gas in the tank there, huh?
Yeah, I felt really good. But honestly, like the next day I felt great. And then ever since, like, I mean, I'm back to working out, I'm back to running already. The vibes are high. Had a great time.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Are you doing another one? Is this something that was a once off, I'm done with it, or are you like a repeat offender now?
I think I'm going to be a repeat offender.
How does your time pan out compared to what you were hoping it would be? I have no idea what you were expecting going into it.
I was like, so when I first signed up for the race, I just said I want to be sub 13:45. So I hit that, which I was really happy about. But
oddly specific time. Are you sure you said that?
I swear it's in my notes. I'll send you a screenshot after this.
Please do, because that is extremely specific.
I know. But anyway, but as we were leading up, I figured I would have been able to run a better marathon. But I mean, I just did not know the fatigue that I was going to go through. Because I mean, there's no way to really prepare for that. But
no, absolutely.
Like the day before the race, I was thinking I could run closer to a 4-hour marathon. So all the time I lost was on that. Everything else, I was pretty much on the money, which I was pretty happy about.
Yeah, you were. I told you, like you were genuinely. I think you were exercising longer than I was awake that day. So that was impressive, man. That was impressive.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
As a little segue, maybe into this a little bit. Did you use any sort of energy aids in this process? Did you use something maybe called caffeine to help you get through this at all? Anything like that?
That I did. I actually kept the numbers because I knew we were going to be talking about this. So before the swim, I gotta look here. I had 75 milligrams in a gel, which is basically like a candy like packet. And then I had a Red Bull too before the swim. On the bike, I had another 70 grams of caffeine or milligrams. That 70 grams would be a lot. And then on the run, I had 140. So what's that? 140 times 2 plus 70. Public math is not my thing.
280, 350, 350 milligrams.
Yep.
Wow, that's I thought you would have more. That's a.
No, honestly, I kept it pretty conserved. I also was expecting to have more. I carried enough with me to have up to like 600 for the day, but just didn't need it. Felt good.
All right, so yeah, today's question that I want to dive into, John, and I'm excited about our format here. We'll see how this all pans out. But our question is, should a teenage athlete consume caffeine? So caffeine, is it good? Is it bad? Is it useful? Is it useless? Is it safe? Is it harmful? Let's find out. I want to start with you, John. What's everyone saying? What's the public narrative out there? What are the people saying about caffeine?
Yeah. So I feel like really the public perspective, specifically in like these high school athletes, is that this is kind of like a legal performance enhancer. Like people feel like if I can take this, it's going to take my workouts and give me like that little extra boost that I may be like missing or maybe not be able to like produce because I have school every single day. I have mountains of homework. I'm not getting enough sleep. And this thing can kind of give me the edge. People also really see it as just like, I feel like a lot of people see it as like this wonder drug and this miracle thing that can replace like my good sleep. As long as I'm drinking some caffeine, I'm able to kind of get that extra energy that I need. I also think, and I mean, this is obvious, caffeine is so easy to access. So people just at this point think that it's something that they should be doing because everywhere they look, you're seeing coffee shops, energy drinks. I mean, you cannot walk 5 feet in a high school without seeing the most ridiculous looking energy drink can in the world. Like, I don't know if you've seen some of the new designs, Zach, but it actually looks like it's radioactive waste in a can. Like, it's ridiculous.
No, I haven't. I haven't seen too much, and I want to double click on that here. I have no idea about energy drinks. What are the main energy drinks people are drinking? I've actually never, 100% honest, never taken a sip of energy drink. Not because like I have some moral ethical stance against them. I don't like carbonation. I never have since I was a kid. So I've taken like 2 sips of pop whenever I was younger, and I don't like the carbonation, so I don't drink any pop, anything like that, and energy drinks, I'm pretty sure are all carbonated. So I've got no idea. I'm a complete novice when it comes to the energy drink world.
All right. So I would say, like, you have like some of your main players, like, obviously, Red Bull, and like those, I feel like that's like
Gives
when
you
you think
wings.
it does. I mean, I certainly think so. But I think like
That's
when
good
you
branding
think
right
of,
there, though.
isn't it though? Like you
If
can't
you
go
said
anywhere
Red Bull,
without
and
thinking it gives you
yeah,
wings.
immediately you said Red Bull gives you wings. Yeah, that's good branding. All right, go
Yeah.
ahead. Sorry.
I would say Red Bull and Monster are like your two big ones. And to me, at least like personally in my experience, there's no like science to back this up. Red Bull always felt like less intense, but I mean, that's just the marketing. That's the way that they come across. Whereas you have
Okay.
Monster, which has this aggressive can with the claws coming down it. That's always like a big, it also like, it just looks gross to me. And
Okay.
it also, but it has less caffeine than a Red Bull from what I'm reading or what I read to prep up for this. And then I think the ones
Really?
that are becoming more popular every single day are these C4 Ghost, the Rain. They're all these black cans with these like big logos on them. And like, I mean, they range from 200 to 350 milligrams caffeine in them each. It's some of the stuff, it's nuts. The amount of caffeine that they're pumping into these high school kids at 6 in the morning before their English class.
Where, and this is gonna sound horrible, but like I hear the words Celsius and Alani a lot. Are those also any energy drinks? This is pathetic. I actually know nothing about them.
Yeah,
But
no. So
I feel like the Celsius, the Alanis are popular with girls. I had a girl who actually was quite dizzy in here the other day because she came in here Saturday morning and had no food in her stomach, but had an Alani in her system.
yeah,
So
that'll do it.
yeah, so I don't know. Go ahead.
So I would say the Alanis and Celsius are still very, very popular. Um, they're like the thinner can style, which I feel like tends to be popular like a lot with like the younger kids. Um, I had never really seen someone drink like one of the, I think it's like a 16-ounce can, like the larger can of an energy drink until I got to college. And you're seeing people at 7 in the morning, like that's just their like coffee, I guess for some people. But I definitely feel like Celsius and Alani has marketed themselves really strongly. I mean, if you look at like an Alani can, like it's like a pretty design. It looks good. And I feel like it's way less intense, at least in like my just like thoughts of it. But yeah, I would say those are definitely big ones, especially with like that high school girl, middle school girl like range.
I do have an energy drink of choice if you kind of, widen your scope of what's possible. I have a lot of love for this right here. I like my coffee a lot, and so that's my addictive beverage. Where do the kids sit with coffee, or what are the people saying about coffee? What's the world say about coffee? Anything in particular?
I mean, I would say that for me, at least in high school, like, I mean, you know this, I didn't drink coffee at all. I kind of
Yeah.
saw it as like, and I completely revoked this statement now, so I feel like I'm allowed to say it. I kind of thought it was soft to have to like drink coffee or drink some caffeine to get through my day. I do not think that's the world's perspective, and I do not think that's the average high school student's perspective anymore. Um, it's the same thing with the energy drinks. You
Did
cannot
you just call
throw
wait? Did
stuff.
you call me soft? You just told me you were
I
calling
said
me soft whenever you're in high
I
school.
said I
No,
used
no,
to
I
think
did, that would
that
have.
people who
So
drink
you used to
coffee
think I was soft.
just a little, and now
All
I'm
right,
also soft. So
all right. There you
and
go.
I'm in the same boat. But I mean, you
Okay.
can't go anywhere in life without seeing 16-year-old kids with their massive Starbucks drinks. And I mean, it's just, I feel like it's become so much more popular. And maybe that's because I'm the one who's drinking it every day now. So I'm just seeing it. But I was actually curious where you stood on coffee being an energy drink.
I mean, it's a drink that gives you. Oh, actually, does it give you energy? We're gonna dive into that here in a little bit.
Oh,
I don't know.
little teaser.
Does caffeine give you energy? I don't know. I wouldn't say in the traditional sense an energy drink because those are like a specific brand, a specific subcategory. But it's an energy drink in that it's supposed to do the same thing as what those other drinks do.
Got it.
It's just a drink to give you a little kick. Anything, any myths out there that you want to foreshadow? Anything that we're going to talk about, or anything that may be truth? That any old
Yes.
wives' tales that we want to validate or invalidate? We're going to talk about. I'm not going to go into those right now, but just kind of give us a little teaser. What we got coming?
Yeah, to set the table for later. What the big things that I found was coffee stunts your growth. That's something I heard as a kid. I feel like that's something everyone heard as a kid. Caffeine dehydrates you, and that energy drinks, like you drink an energy drink, you're going to perform better.
All right, all right. We'll table those. Anything else to add that the people are saying right now?
People love their energy drinks. That's really my
All right,
big takeaway.
they do love them. And one other thing that I will probably maybe put out there though, we are considering pre-workouts to be in the same general like category here of the same purpose of energy drinks, the caffeine being the primary stimulant that's involved in pre-workout. So
Got
if
it.
you have any thoughts or any interest in, or if you've ever had any questions about coffee, energy drinks or pre-workout, like this is kind of the main episode that we're gonna talk about that stuff. But it is
Love it.
5:30 in the morning, so I do have my nice black coffee in hand and ready to go. Give me some energy. You got the Red Bull. All right, I
Yeah,
guess
right.
there's our generation difference right there.
I just can't do the coffee this early in the morning. I don't know why.
That's the whole point of the coffee, is for early in the morning.
I'm
It's
just
so
saying.
you
I
wake
don't
up in
know.
the morning with some degree of soul. Okay. All right. So what does the science say? Now we're going to pop in, not to what everyone's saying, not the public perception, but we're going to dive into what the science says. And before we get into like specific studies, we need to set the background. The first part of the background is, what is energy? Because the whole point of what we're talking about is it an energy drink? Does it give you energy? What is how much energy does it give you? Yada, yada, yada. So before we actually go into caffeine itself, we need to understand what energy is. So energy is the capacity to do work or produce change, which powers all life processes. And so you can think about this in everything that you do, it requires energy. If you want to contract a muscle, you need energy. If you want to send a nerve signal, you need energy. If you want to build hormones, you need energy. If you want to pump blood, you need energy. If you want to breathe, guess what, John? You need energy. So
Mhm.
clearly energy is important, but where does this energy come from? And I don't want to turn this into a boring bio lecture. That's kind of our whole thing here. We're trying to make the science cool and interesting and fun, so that way you can apply it throughout all aspects of your life. So I'm going to keep this straightforward and to the point, but I am going to mention the words Krebs cycle at some point in time, so I understand if you do vomit. Um, so you eat food, okay? That's the first part of this whole thing. You eat food, which is made up of macronutrients. Those are carbs, proteins, and fats. Those macronutrients are then digested into their basic building blocks, which are glucose for carbs, amino acids for proteins, and triglycerides for fats. Those are all then absorbed into the body. The body then goes through fancy processes, glycolysis, Krebs cycle, and the electron transport chain to break down those building blocks even further. As they're broken down, this is the important part here, they kick out something called adenosine triphosphate, which is also known as ATP. And that's what we're going to talk about it for the most part. I'll come back to the adenosine part here in a little bit. But ATP is the magic substance here. ATP is the energy currency in your body. So, in order to do anything at all that requires energy, you need to donate some ATP. Essentially, your body says, oh, you want to contract that muscle? Give me some ATP. You want to make that hormone? Give me some ATP. You want a brain to think? Give me some ATP. But here's the thing, John, and I alluded to this earlier, consuming caffeine doesn't result in ATP being produced. Anything so far?
First off, I'm getting war flashbacks to all the bio classes I've ever taken in my entire life. And I think
glycolysis, Krebs cycle, electron transport chain. Those are some dangerous words right
sending shivers down my spine. But I think like a common misconception, at least for me forever, was, all right, if I drink caffeine, I'm going to have more of these ATP, more of like these coins to be able to submit these tasks in my body. So I think we got to jump into that a little bit more.
All right. So then the next part there then is, okay, so how does caffeine fit in all this? Obviously, it does something. We've all felt the caffeine change our body in some way before. So what exactly does caffeine do? How does it fit into all of this? How in the world can something give you energy, quote unquote, like caffeine does, if it doesn't produce ATP, which is the energy currency in our body? So to understand that, we need to first keep playing out the ATP process. So after ATP is used, it gets broken down, and eventually some of it ends up as free adenosine. So remember, it was adenosine triphosphate. So eventually those three phosphates are all stripped away, and you have some free adenosine floating around in there. There are specific adenosine receptors in your brain. These adenosine receptors are specifically shaped, and that's an important word here, to fit adenosine in there. And so those adenosine receptors take up adenosine, and when those adenosine receptors bind adenosine, it builds sleep pressure, or more simply, it makes you tired. So that makes sense, right? If ATP is used for energy, so we have adenosine triphosphate. If you use ATP for energy, when we break down that ATP over time, we have a buildup of broken down adenosine, and that's a good signal to be like, hey, man, we've used a lot of energy today. We need some rest. So having free adenosine in there makes you more tired. Caffeine, however, is shaped just like adenosine. It's the same structure. So caffeine fits into the adenosine receptors. When caffeine lodges itself into the adenosine receptor, adenosine can't fit in, and it can't start signaling to build sleep pressure. So essentially what caffeine does is doesn't actually give you more energy from the true definition. It makes you less sleepy because it stops those adenosine signals from cascading.
Okay. Got it.
All right. Sound good? So we know what caffeine does from a physiological standpoint now, and that's cool and all, but that's not the question we had today. The question we had was, is caffeine safe and effective for a teenage athlete? Okay, so now we're going to dive into literature. We set the background. We're going to look at specific studies. Now, the first study we're going to look at is called A Systematic Review of the Potential Adverse Effects of Caffeine Consumption in Healthy Adults, Pregnant Women, Adolescents, and Children by Wikoff and al. Okay, very, very, very stimulating title right there.
I heard systematic review, so it has to be good, right?
Yeah, we're gonna, yeah, absolutely. So it's solid. So our three questions, as a reminder here, that we're going to work through with every study we look through are: number one, can I trust the results? Number two, what did the study find? Number three, can I use these results in my context? So starting with the first one there, can I trust the results? Yes, but with limitations. So the pros here are it's a systematic review with very rigorous methodology, meaning it was very specific about how they found all the studies inside there. It was peer reviewed. They screened over 5,000 studies. So there was a lot of literature that went into this. Most of the available studies were rated high quality. So there was a low risk of bias. There were consistent findings, and it was specific to the population that we're concerned with here. So those are all good things that make us be able to trust the results more. The cons here is there are very limited data sets on adolescents. There were 10 studies that looked at blood pressure, 6 that looked at heart rate, 2 that looked at mood, 3 that looked at headache, and 3 that looked at sleep. And it's not saying that all of those are different studies. Those are just the studies that looked at those different things. So we don't have a very large data set to work with, but we can't use that as like a exclusionary factor in considering this a good study or not to make decisions, because we already know that adolescents and kids who are under 18 years old are not going to have an abundance of literature on them, because it's hard to do research on kids because they're not consenting adults, and not too many parents are signing their kids up for guinea pig type trials of anything. So, can I trust these results? Yes, but with limitations because there's not a lot of data on there.
Got it.
Okay. Then, what did the study find? Okay, so for risk of fracture, bone density, blood pressure, heart rate, mood, headache, and sleep, okay, having healthy adults having an intake of 400 milligrams of caffeine per day is not associated with negative outcomes. So that's for fracture, bone density, blood pressure, heart rate, mood, headache, sleep. Having an intake of 400 milligrams of caffeine per day is not associated with negative outcomes. So that's not saying that's all the caffeine you can ever have. That's saying that up to 400 milligrams of caffeine seems to be pretty safe for most people, the average sized person, from a healthy adult perspective. Not dealing with adults for the most part here, though. Some of our late high school kids, you're a senior in high school, you are 18 years old, you fall into this category. You can confidently have 400 milligrams of caffeine per day. And those are smaller, or an average size individual. If you're an above average sized individual, you probably can safely have more than 400 milligrams of caffeine per day. But we're going to get into why that might not be the best idea here later. Okay, so then for those same outcomes, fracture, bone density, blood pressure, heart rate, mood, headache, sleep, we have no definitive conclusions for adolescents. Why? There wasn't enough data. However, the authors do state that the available evidence suggests that 2.5 milligrams of caffeine per kilogram of body weight, I'm going to make those American units here in a second, guys, remains an appropriate recommendation. So if you have 1.13 milligrams per pound of body weight, you should be okay as an adolescent, okay? There's no real negative data sets that'll show us that there's some negative outcomes that you can expect. So the available evidence suggests 1.13 milligrams per pound of body weight is safe for us American folks. So if you weigh 150 pounds, it's postulated that it's going to be safe to consume 169.5 milligrams of caffeine per day. Okay?
Got it. Yeah.
With me on these so far?
Yeah. Following along.
Okay. And then the last question here is, can I use these results in my context? Yes, the studies are specific to adolescents, and so you can use these results in your context. Okay, so that answers our first question of safety. So we have safety, but now we have to look at, does it actually do anything for us? Is it effective? Now we're going to address performance in our next study. And this one is the best study I could find for this question was Wake Up and Smell the Coffee, Caffeine Supplementation and Exercise Performance, an umbrella review of 21 published meta-analyses by Grgic and his team. And I'm sorry if I messed your name up there, Mr. Grgic. It's Grgic. And I know I'm definitely not doing you justice there. But this one at least does have a little bit of a spicy, interesting tagline to the study name. It's Wake Up and Smell the Coffee. So
I like it.
Yeah, not as dry. Okay. 3 questions. Can I trust the results? What did the study find? Can I use these results in my context? Okay. Can I trust the results? Yes. Yes, emphatically, you can trust the results. Why? The pros. I don't actually have any cons for this one. It's an umbrella review, which is a systematic review of systematic reviews. I repeat that, a systematic review of systematic reviews.
Wow.
It's getting very meta here. It's extremely rigorous methodology, peer-reviewed, included a total of 320 individual studies and 4,855 total participants. We have a large sample size here with 320 different studies, so a lot of different methodologies being used. The results, whatever we get from this study, we can trust the results. What did the study find? For healthy adults as a whole, caffeine had a significant positive effect on aerobic endurance, muscle strength, muscle endurance, anaerobic power, vertical jump height, exercise speed, in short-term high intensity exercise. Let's go, man. So I'm going to run that back. For healthy adults, caffeine had a significant positive effect on how far you can run aerobically, how strong you can be, how long your muscles can keep working, how explosive you can be, how high you can jump, how quickly you can get your exercise done, and like how effective your short-term high intensity exercises are. Right? That's great. It had a
Yeah, I mean, it
positive
sounds like
effect.
a no-brainer for
A
any healthy
no-brainer
adult.
whatsoever. Yep. Except for the fact that the effect size for almost all of those performance metrics was very small. So,
Mhm.
effect size is different than significance. And I think we may have touched on this previously, but it's definitely worth revisiting. So, significance just means like, is there a difference? Any difference whatsoever? Meaning, whenever you change that variable, this variable being for this one, caffeine, the presence or absence of caffeine, is there a difference? And can you reliably expect there to be that difference? If you can reliably expect a difference, then that study is significant. But the effect size tells us how much of a difference that actually makes. So we need to think of the word significant different than we normally think of it. Normally we think of significant in layman's terms as like, oh, wow, that made a big difference. That was a significant difference.
Mhm.
Significant difference here just means there was a reliably expected difference. Effect size, however, tells us how large of an effect that variable actually had. And the most common effect size statistical measure you'll see is called Cohen's d. And so Cohen's d has three landmark numbers that you can use to say if something was high, medium, or low effect size. So a low effect size is going to be something around 0.20. A medium effect size is going to be something around 0.50. A high effect size is going to be something around 0.80.
Okay.
So, for all performance metrics in this one, except for one, the effect size was really small, roughly 0.20. And I'm actually going to share my screen to show you how this looks on the PDF here on the study. Okay, so if we see these, we have the summary of the effect sizes right here. So at the top on this one is aerobic endurance, and those are the studies that looked at that. Muscle strength, studies that looked at that. Muscle endurance, the studies that looked at that. Anaerobic power, vertical jump height, exercise speed, short-term high-intensity exercise. So you can see for some of these, we don't have a lot of studies.
Mhm.
But, so you have the summary of the effect sizes. The 95% confidence intervals are outlined by these black lines right here.
Okay.
The average effect size is that center dot that they have. It can be the square, the circle, the triangle, the diamond, whatever shape they chose for that specific metric that they're looking at.
Got it.
So you can see for most of these, you have for all of them, you can see that the average is to the right of the 0.0 mark, which means you have a positive effect. If things were on the left, there would be a negative effect. If there was no effect whatsoever, it would be straight on that 0.0 line. Everything's to the right, so that means you have a positive effect, which is what we talked about with significance earlier.
Mhm.
You have significant difference. However, there aren't things that are very far to the right side of that line. We have 0.0 right here, 0.5 right here, 1.0 right here. And you can see most of these fall less than halfway between 0.0 and 0.5. So that takes us somewhere around that 0.20 mark, which is a small effect size. Some of these, even like vertical jump height, you look at this here, the 95% confidence interval actually falls right on that 0.0 marker. And that tells us that it may not have any difference whatsoever. So you can see the effect sizes are all pretty small, except for aerobic endurance. A lot of these average effect sizes are pretty high, and they're consistently further out than the rest of the metrics. And so what it shows us is caffeine has a significant effect for endurance, muscle strength, muscle endurance, aerobic power, vertical jump height, yada, yada, yada. But it has a strong effect, or I'm sorry, I should say a medium effect on aerobic endurance and a small effect on all the other ones.
Okay. Got it.
Any thoughts on that?
I mean, I feel like in my personal experience using caffeine, that makes a lot of sense. I've seen the most benefit from it when I've started to run, swim, bike compared to like baseball, for example. I didn't necessarily feel like I had that much extra juice, playing baseball compared to going out on a run, taking caffeine before. I feel like you just feel
Yeah.
better.
Yeah. Yeah, and if you look at like our physiological mechanism, that kind of makes sense because if you can stop that adenosine buildup, it's going to give you less of those fatigue signals. And we're not normally worried about fatigue when we're doing something that's short intensity, high explosiveness. It's not necessarily fatigue that's limiting us in those situations. Okay, but yeah, so the last question here is, can I use these results in my context? And the answer is kind of. This is again, it goes back to I couldn't find quality research on kids. This umbrella review is only about adults. And furthermore, it's on all healthy adults. It's not just
Mm.
specific to athletic adults or athletes or anything along those lines. And so um, you can use these results in your context to a degree. It's not a very strong correlation there. It's not about kids, not about teenagers, not about adolescents. And so we have to extrapolate. Again, we can't just throw it out because we're going to consistently on this podcast run into the issue of finding literature on minors. Okay, so I want to take those because that was a lot of mumbo jumbo, and I want to summarize two things. I want to summarize what's actually important here, and then I want to move on to my stance and the actual answer that I have to this question. So,
Get it?
what's actually important from all these studies? Number one, caffeine is probably safe for adolescents who are near physical maturity, but they should stay around 1.13 milligrams per pound of body weight per day. As a side note, as we talked about earlier, a single energy drink or scoop of pre workout likely has 200 milligrams or more of caffeine in it. So, for many of you average size or smaller individuals, that alone exceeds your daily dose. Number two, caffeine improves performance in most physical domains, but only slightly. The one area it likely has a meaningful effect is on endurance tasks. This hasn't been demonstrated in adolescents, but it's logical to extrapolate to the adult data to someone near physical maturity. Number three, regular use of caffeine will result in developing tolerance, meaning it takes more for you to feel the same effects. And this is an important part here. Number four, caffeine makes you less sleepy, which impacts your sleep quality if taken too late in the afternoon. So those are some downsides of this. If you are regularly taking caffeine, you are going to become used to it, and you're going to have more caffeine in order to have the same amount of effects that you previously had. So that would say, hey, let's use this only whenever we really need it, so that way it actually makes a difference whenever you actually need it. The second part, or the last part there, was caffeine makes you less sleepy, which makes your sleep quality worse, which means you're going to recover worse, which means you're going to have worse long-term outcomes if you become too reliant on caffeine and you take it too late in the afternoon. So those are some important things we want to also throw into our considerations that weren't talked about in our studies. You with me? We all good so far?
Yeah, I was gonna say for me, I can't take caffeine after like 2 p.m. or else I'm tossing and turning all night.
Yeah. And I think that that is the norm for most people. Some people will say that it doesn't happen to them. Some people it actually doesn't. Like my dad, he'll literally he'll babysit our kids at and he'll make a pot of coffee at like 6:30 p.m. and drink it then and have no issues whatsoever. I mean, he'll go even later than that and have no issues whatsoever. But that also means the caffeine's not doing anything for him whenever you actually need it to do something. And so
Right?
it's just like you just need it to get back to baseline. It is a drug. And so whenever you do not have it, if you are addicted to it and you have that tolerance level, like if you don't get yourself back to baseline, you're going to have withdrawal symptoms. You're going to have a headache. Have you ever had a caffeine headache before?
Oh my goodness, yeah. Every time I come
Oh,
home for fall break, I just cut off completely to try to
miserable
reset
then
my
for the first
system
day?
or whatever. Oh my goodness, I'm a miserable human being for a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, it's almost embarrassing. It's like, oh, I thought I was like pretty structured with what I put into my body, and then I go like a day without caffeine, and I'm by 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I'm like, I am miserable. My head hurts,
Hmm.
and yeah. So we're addicted to caffeine. So you want to make sure that you are using it in a small enough dose on a regular basis that when you actually need it, it's going to do something. Okay. My final stance here. Should a teenage athlete consume caffeine? If an athlete is near physical maturity, takes less than 1.13 milligrams per pound of body weight in a day, and takes it 3 days per week or less before meaningful performances, then yes. Other than that, the effect size is too insignificant to warrant any risks. The risk is not worth the reward. All right. I've talked too much. Let's hear from you, Mr. John.
I love it. With all of that awesome, super, super interesting science and studies and all of that amazing stuff, let's get back into some real world application and let's bust
What do
some
you mean
myths.
real world? We're taking real world science into the real world. That's the whole point of the podcast, John. What do you
I
mean?
love it. I love it. All right. Let's try to break this one down here. I've heard since I was a kid, I'm sure you've heard, that coffee and caffeine is going to stunt my growth. It's going to stop me from growing big and strong. What are your
Yes.
thoughts on there? What's the science on that?
I honestly, I don't know where that comes from. I don't
Right?
know anything about that. I mean, thinking at the logically looking at caffeine and how it works from a physiological mechanism, I can't see how that would make sense. But I mean, stuff comes from somewhere, so I'm really curious, like where that comes from and
Well,
what there's
lucky for
any
you,
validity
Zach.
to it.
I did a little bit of research before this episode. From what I have found, it seems to have come from Postum, which is a coffee alternative in the late 19th century, which was making some ads, just basically trying to smear and slander the coffee industry. Now, if you're going to ask me what is Postum, I'm going to be honest, I could not find what that was. It
I
seems to
am
be this
100%
like,
going to ask you what postum is. Yes, I
I
need
have
to know
no
what postum
idea.
is.
It's just this like additional drink that was trying to go against coffee. And so what they did is, okay, I can actually share my screen here and show you this image. But so they ran this ad campaign back in like early 1900s or late 1900s, and where there's this one from the Smithsonian, held back by coffee. This poor boy had never had a fair chance. So it
Wait,
was
can you go
just
back to
this.
the last? Can you go back to the last one? What the last one say? Can you read it out loud?
Yeah, this one said coffee cuts down weight and height of children, figures show. And these were studies that were basically paid for by Postum to try to slander this industry and promote their new bean drink that apparently wasn't coffee but still had just as much caffeine.
So it was coffee, but not coffee. It had caffeine, roasted bean drink that had had caffeine in it, but it was going to have a different effect than coffee was their stance.
Yep. Which to me,
Interesting.
obviously makes a ton of sense. I hope the sarcasm came through the recording there.
So it was a marketing ploy. So you're telling me that coffee doesn't actually stunt your growth. It was a marketing ad agency that came up with this as a way to make money off of their new.
Yeah.
They created the problem and tried to sell you the solution.
I think you're gonna find that a lot in the world if you look.
Yeah. There's actually a lot of really cool examples that are like exactly like those types of things. Like the toothpaste being a big one. And I don't want you to quote me on this, but toothpaste before a certain time period was used by a very, very, very small percentage of people. Very few people brush their teeth, and I want to say it was like the early 1900s or something like that, which is kind of just really, really insane to think about. Imagine just like going on a date with somebody, or your wife didn't use toothpaste.
Yeah,
okay.
right.
But what they did is there was a toothpaste company that did an ad that basically showed that before you brush your teeth, you could feel this film on your mouth or film on your teeth. Then after you brush your teeth with their toothpaste, you couldn't feel it anymore. And then that became why people started brushing their teeth so much, based off of the ads for this toothpaste company, not because of some like health advocacy thing or anything along those lines. Like our world is largely shaped by capitalistic marketing structures, more so than we could ever imagine. Which the toothpaste thing is a really good one. The coffee thing,
Right.
I mean, to be honest, I don't want them to drink coffee, so it's I don't care that narrative's out there that young kids are going to have their growth stunted, but it's still myth nonetheless.
All right. Enough on coffee stunning your growth. Let's jump into our next myth. That caffeine in general just dehydrates you and is going to kind of leave you depleted after its initial effect has ran its course.
Yeah, no, I also may or may not have referred to caffeine as a diuretic throughout my early career as a strength and conditioning coach when talking to athletes as well. So I may be guilty of perpetuating this because you put in the Mythbusters section.
So from what I've found, based on like really early studies with absolutely absurd doses of caffeine, like, yeah, you can see that caffeine's a diuretic. But with this modern data that we now have with much, much more reasonable doses, more fitting into that 400 milligram per day for a healthy and normal sized adult athlete, it's the same thing we talked about with that effect size is so small. And honestly, the significance is so small that it really doesn't seem to affect a normal adult in their normal hydration levels.
All right. So myth
So
one, coffee is not going to stunt your growth. Myth two, caffeines or coffee or caffeine, either one of those two, are not going to dehydrate you. They're not diuretics. Wow. So
as long as you're not
we're
taking 1,000 milligrams a day, I think you're going to be okay.
yes. Although I listened to a actually, no, I don't want to say the words on this podcast. Never mind. It was going to be Andrew Tate.
Oh,
Well, I don't listen to Andrew Tate. I don't want to put that out there. I
oh
think he's a
no.
horrible human being. I was listening to a podcast, uh, More Plates, More Dates. He
Oh
drug
yeah.
tested Andrew Tate. And he was talking about how much caffeine he drinks. That man is a psychopath.
Oh
Oh
my
my
goodness. It's
gosh.
unreal.
Yes.
No.
Go ahead. Yeah, I'm not an Andrew Tate fan, guys. I'm not. That's not a thing. I'm actually very strongly against who he is as a person. Go ahead, John.
All right, jumping back into our final myth here. And I feel like this is just a super common one, especially among these high school athletes. If I'm going to drink an energy drink, I'm going to go out there and perform better on game day. It's going to give me that extra juice. I'm going to get out there and really just have the game of my life.
Wait, I busted that one earlier.
I was going to say, you kind of stole my thunder with this one. Like we just talked about in these like high impact, short little time frame, caffeine isn't really giving you a lot. And it goes back to the science because science is cool. Where like
Yeah.
if you're really fatigued, that's really the only point where caffeine can help.
Yeah. Yeah. The effect size is just relatively small for those other things. Now, if you're trying to reach peak performance, if any effect size is going to be valuable at some point in time. But that's why you want to use it whenever it actually matters, not using it on a daily basis for just getting through regular training sessions. But yeah, that was cool.
Well,
I like that Mythbusters section. We
yeah,
learned
that's
some
fun.
stuff there.
I liked it.
Yeah. What are you gonna do this weekend now? Are you gonna do like athletic stuff now? I don't know if that like, and then I mean
Yeah,
that in
no,
like the most, you know what I mean? Like,
I can't stay away from it. So we have Special Olympics on campus this week. It's the largest student run Special Olympics in the world, which is going to be really fun. So I'm pacing a 5K this morning and then a
oh,
3K race walk.
So no, nothing athletic.
Yeah, no.
I was making fun of the endurance
standards.
side of things. Yeah, I was making fun of the endurance side of things by saying, "Are you
no.
gonna do anything athletic?" No.
Oh yeah. See, I just took it literally. I thought you were being nice.
Yeah.
But I should have known better.
No. I
think I'm gonna
actually, if
start
I can't do
lifting more.
something, oh, go ahead.
I think that's the goal is to start actually lifting. I barely lifted over this prep just of straight time. So I think the
Yeah.
goal is I'll run the Philadelphia Marathon and then that's that's right before Thanksgiving. And then after that,
Oh, is
just
that
try
why
to
you're
get,
running scared from the Turkey Bowl? That whole Winchester
yeah.
thing's just a cover.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, actually, I'm
So
going to be home now.
are you gonna play in the Turkey Bowl now?
Do we have a slot? Because Nate signed up, right?
Yeah, Nate signed up. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Perfect. I'll get on the team. Anyway.
There you go.
Sidebar.
All right, you're back. We got some athletic stuff. So now you got to train for that, man. You haven't changed direction for the last year of your life. You haven't done any change.
Yeah, no, I just ran in a straight line. So this might get ugly out there, but
there goes his ACL, fellas.
Yeah.
No, it'll be fun though.
Yeah, I am.
Yeah, no. I'll wrap it up. I do respect the heck out of you for what you did. That is really an incredible accomplishment. Probably only due to the caffeine you ingested. As we saw, the effect size was just mad. Although you had less than 400 milligrams in your entire day of running I
was expecting a lot more. Yeah. What can I say? I didn't want to be soft.
Yeah. Okay, but yeah, so that is it for this episode. Actually, one other thing, I want to start I call my newsletter the Athlete Development Journal, and I'm just going to give this the same name. This is the Athlete Development Journal, same thing. So, This newsletter and podcast is completely free. I spend many hours each week researching, writing, illustrating, recording, editing, uploading, talking to John. John does all this research. We have a lot of work that goes into this. The best way you can support it and allow it to continue is to share it with people you know. You can send them to gtperformance.co/newsletter and they can subscribe there, or you can share this episode wherever you listen to your podcast and like, share, subscribe, review, whatever is available on that medium. And then I do have to end with a disclosure. Everything in these newsletters, podcasts, social media, and on our website is for educational purposes only and should not be taken as medical advice for you or your athlete. Please consult directly with a healthcare professional. All right. Until next time, go be great out there.
Yeah, straight A student, but I'm friends with the cool kids. Following the rules and the rubric.